Look, we're off to a really great start. I was muted. Hello there, Senators, and welcome back to Star Wars Democracy. We're going to be talking about some Ahsoka Season 2 speculation tonight. I already see we got Tony here in the chat. What is up, Tony? Glad that you're here. Hey, we were just talking on Discord, and I know you're going to grab a bite to eat. You have to let me know what you ended up grabbing. I made homemade pizza tonight, so I am full and ready to do some streaming and talk some speculation. So hey, and if you're new here and you're not in the Discord, we don't have a ton of people in there right now. It's been up for a while, but there should be a link to the Discord in the description of this live stream, this video, and all my other videos. Hit that link, and if that link doesn't work, get in touch with me. You can get in touch with me over X or just comment on any video. I should see it, and I'll try to get you an updated link. But would love to have you in the Discord and just to be a part of the community. We talk some Star Wars, obviously, and Mexican food, as we were doing in the Discord today. So, yeah, Tony here says I can't get out to eat, so it's leftovers. I feel you. Yeah, everything's expensive nowadays too, right? It's hard to go out to eat all the time and get stuff because it's too expensive. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's just me tonight. Journeyman, I believe, is playing some basketball tonight, so he won't be joining us. But hope he's having a good time, and he should be able to be on next week, and we can bounce ideas off of each other. But I got Tony here in the chat, and maybe some others will kind of filter in, and we'll just talk some Ahsoka Season 2 speculation and any other Star Wars news that we want to bring up and talk about. Unfortunately, if you're here last week, we were talking about we don't have very great technology here over at Star Wars Democracy. So unfortunately, sharing my screen and reading articles is a little bit tough, but hopefully we'll get there eventually where we can get some upgrades and we could start reading articles and going through some stuff. But for now, why don't we just go and we can just dive into some pre-made questions that I have so that we can speculate on all the things Ahsoka Season 2. Now, the reason why we're talking Ahsoka Season 2, I know that there's some news out there. I was on a guy who loves Star Wars. Shout out to Mike and his channel. He gave me a great shout out, which, by the way, that reminds me, we are officially at 1,000 subscribers at Star Wars Democracy. So could not have done that without all of you. Tony, especially, he's been here close to the beginning. And everybody who's just, come by the channel, we're a relatively small channel, but now that we're at 1,000 subscribers, I think that we're kind of getting into that medium range. And so hopefully we can attract some more people and build an audience. But I'm just so thankful that you guys have come, and honestly couldn't imagine we have gotten to 1,000 subscribers this quickly. So super thankful for that. In fact, I think that deserves
I am the Senate. It's treason, then.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, Chancellor.
Tony's favorite is the treason one because he's a traitor and he knows what I'm talking about. So that's fun. All right. Well, let's get into some speculation here. So I wanted to talk first about Ahsoka and Sabine. And thank you, Tony. Once again, I appreciate you and being a part of the channel for this long. Couldn't be more grateful. So thank you. Let's talk about Ahsoka and Sabine. So as I was that's what I was saying before that is, there's a lot of things going on. I know, like I said, I was talking about a guy who loves Star Wars. That's how I got on this train of thought. But he was talking about, an article today about a new Clone Wars, maybe an animated series or something in the works. And I know that there's a new Bad Batch novel, and there's some stuff about Daisy Ridley, talking Star Wars and politics in relation to the new Jedi Order movie. But I think what has me most excited right now, and let me know in the chat if you stop by or in the comments, if you're watching this on the replay, what you're most excited for, what you're looking forward to in terms of projects coming up. Because I would say, obviously, mine is probably Ahsoka Season 2. I know we have The Mandalorian and Grogu. I know we have Dave Filoni's rumored Heir to the Empire movie. What else? We've got Sean Levy has a movie coming out. Oh goodness, what else do they got? The Dawn of the Jedi. I think it's Stephen Knight. I believe he has a movie coming out. We talked about this last week too, but there's a lot of live action projects coming out. But I would say probably my most anticipated right now is Ahsoka season 2. So let me know what your most anticipated is. But for tonight, we're going to start by talking Ahsoka season 2, and like I said, we might trickle off and venture off into other areas and realms as well in the Star Wars universe. So let's start with Ahsoka and Sabine. So Ahsoka and Sabine, obviously, when we leave them in season 1, they're on Peridia. They don't quite make it to the Venator Thrawn ship, the Venator, before he takes off into hyperspeed with the Eye of Sion and escapes Peridia. They don't make it, and we get that nice little commentary monologue of Thrawn patching into ship and zooms off and into our galaxy that we know and love. But yeah, so we get Sabine and Ahsoka stuck on this planet, Peridia. And I think a question that I have not been able to answer for myself, and only time will tell in what actually ends up happening, obviously. But do you all think that Ahsoka and Sabine are going to get off Peridia? That's my first question. Ahsoka and Sabine's fate. Do you think that Ahsoka and Sabine are going to get off Peridia? And if they do get off Peridia, how are they going to get off Peridia, right? They don't have an Eye of Sion. There are the whales, so that's kind of, the Purgle they could utilize. We understand that, if I understand correctly, the Purgle go back and forth, so they could potentially utilize a Purgle to get off the planet. But why didn't Thrawn do that? If that was the case, Thrawn could have used the Purgle to get off the planet. So I think they're stuck there, at least for the time being. What do you all think? Tony says, that's a good question and a hard one to predict. He says, someone has to come rescue them. Okay. How will they come rescue them? Are they going to find a way to communicate with the New Republic? Ezra knows where they are, right? Ezra's been there, and Ezra is now with Hera and the rest of the New Republic. There you go. Tony says it right there. Hera will find out that they're on Peridia from Ezra. Okay. And Ezra knows how to get there, right? He can get there. They can get there through the Purgle. In fact, if memory serves me correct, in episode 5, Hera knows how Ahsoka got to Peridia, right? She was in the Purgle whale. Ahsoka was in the Purgle whale, and Hera watches as her and Ahsoka and Yang take off. So Hera knows how to get there. Ezra can confirm that they did get there. Ezra got back. So will they find a way to communicate with the New Republic? I doubt it. Will Ezra be able to help guide the New Republic to find them? Possibly. The question still lies, though, of how do they get back? How do Ahsoka and Sabine get off Peridia? Will they get off Peridia? Tony says, have to steal the ring vehicle away from Thrawn, the Eye of Sion. Well, I mean, yes, they could steal it. Seems like something that's probably would be hard to steal, even though Tony says Ezra's good at stealing. Perhaps that they could steal it. Let me pose my theory. And I if you've been around the channel long enough, you know that I'm kind of my niche and it's this Star Wars YouTubing thing is just coming up with wild theories and running with them. So I'm going to run with this one. I think my theory right now, and it's a long shot, I think, but it's plausible. Okay, this is a plausible theory, but a long shot. And it has to do with Ahsoka the White. Now, I know, like I said, if you've been around the channel for a long time, you know I've had my good share of theories, and you can go back and watch the videos of what I think Ahsoka the White means and who she is and what's going to happen. Now, we see from episode 5, The Shadow Warrior, that she takes on the mantle of Ahsoka the White. No one actually calls her that, but we can see her in her white robes, and she's obviously undergone a character shift and transformation, seeing Anakin in the world between worlds. And I think she kind of understands everything that has led up to this point has been for a reason. And Anakin tells her that if you want to live, you have to keep fighting because your work is not done. You have a lot more to do. And we end up getting her in Peridia, and at the end, you hear her say, you tell Sabine, we're exactly where we need to be. And that's when we see Anakin's Force Ghost in the distance. Now, all that to say, you were going to say, Ryan, where are you going with this? Well, obviously, they've retconned the end of Rebels a little bit. Because in Star Wars Rebels, we see the scene where Sabine takes off with Ahsoka, and then they're off to find Ezra. And we've wondered, well, what does that mean? Where's this going? Dave Filoni changed it a little bit in the Ahsoka series. She doesn't have the staff. She doesn't have the white robes yet. She gets the white robes a couple episodes later in episode 5. Still doesn't have the staff, though. So that's where this theory comes into play. The staff, okay? Ahsoka the White, knowing now that we're on this Peridia planet and we know that the Mortis gods, and we can get more into the Mortis gods later, but the Mortis gods obviously have some kind of connection to Peridia. And the Mortis gods also have some kind of connection to the world between worlds, as we see on the temple on Lothal, the mural. Ezra being able to get into the world between worlds through the mural and that interaction with the mural. I think that at some point, I don't think Dave Filoni is just going to abandon this idea of a staff. Now, the staff that we see at the end of Rebels is a staff, and it has a little circle at the top, which mimics what we see on the mural in the world between worlds. In fact, whenever you see the mural shift and move as it's opening the portal to the world between worlds, you actually see circles connect, and they light up in a little. Once again, if we have better technology, I would just pull up the video and show you. But if you can go watch it, where when they connect, they light up, and it's the same circle. Obviously, it's a circle, but it's very reminiscent to the staff that we see her holding at the end of Star Wars Rebels in the epilogue. So, with the mural going like that, and that episode where we see Ezra go through the world between worlds through the mural is very, very close to the end of the season, the end of the show, where we see the epilogue. I think that she's going to get that staff on Peridia. It's going to be in some kind of temple or monastery like we see in the Mortis episodes of the Clone Wars. She's going to get that staff, and she's going to be able to open portals to the world between worlds herself, not having to go through a mural, not having to do whatever she did with Anakin. And if my good friend Journeyman was here, he's actually brought up, and I encourage everybody to go take a look at this if you can. But every time in Star Wars, we've seen someone go into the world between worlds, you actually hear lightning crack and thunder, boom, a loud boom of thunder. You can even hear it in the Ahsoka show. In fact, I think it's when she grabs the star map, the circle that Balin destroys with his lightsaber. Whenever she grabs it, you can hear thunder go boom, and then obviously she falls a little later on, and then World Between Worlds. Same thing. I believe you can hear it in the Rebels episode. So, long story short, I think she's going to get that staff, and I think that she's going to be able to use that staff to go through the world between worlds. And we know Dave Filoni has said this is not a method for time travel, but it is a method of travel, I believe. And so perhaps they'll be able to use the world between worlds to get back home. Maybe. And that sets some things up that I'd like to cover in a video, but I truly believe, and I've covered it in other videos, but it's time I make a new video. I truly believe that Ahsoka Tano is going to become the protector of the world between worlds. I say that because in the Mortis episode, or not the Mortis episode, the World Between Worlds episode of Star Wars Rebels. When Ezra's opening the portal, you can hear the daughter say, in the voice of the daughter, say, "We are the ones who guard the power, the beginning, middle, and end." Now, I think that power is the world between worlds, and we know that Ahsoka has the life force of the daughter, which I believe makes her the rightful heir. And you could argue that Anakin is the rightful heir as the father to become the guardians of the power. That's why we see Anakin in the world between worlds. They are the guardians of the world between worlds. And Ahsoka's going to be able to go into that world as she pleases with the staff. And I believe that that's going to be how she gets home. What do y'all think of that? We covered a lot of ground there. Let me get to some chats here. Let's see. Tony says, "Yeah, there's that darn world between worlds again." I know, Tony, and a lot of people don't want to use the world between worlds. I'm not saying that's what you're saying here. I think you have to use it sparingly, and I think going forward after the Ahsoka show, we are going to see it being used sparingly. I don't want to overuse it. However, I am one of those people who loves to dive into the mystery of the Force. And so I think you have to for me, I would like to go into more of the world between worlds, the mythology there, what it means, the idea of the chosen one, the virgin birth of Anakin, and kind of what that means. Ahsoka, like we just talked about, having the life force of the embodiment of the light side of the Force. What does that mean? Let's get into some of that. And I don't want to answer all the questions because we need to set it up for the future. But I really hope that we can dive into it, and I think they're going to have to use the world between worlds sparingly moving forward. But I do think that it's going to be at least I hope. My theory is it's going to be a large part of Ahsoka moving forward and what that means for her character. We got Travis here. What's up, Travis? Says, "How's it going, guys? Hope you're well, Ryan and Tony." I'm doing well. Tony's got some food and some dinner in him, so I think he's doing well too. But I'll let him speak for himself. Tony says Ahsoka and Anakin can get Sabine and Ahsoka in there and travel back to our universe. There you go. See, that's what I'm saying. Brittany, welcome, Brittany. Thank you for being a subscriber. I really appreciate it. Says, "We need Thrawn fighting Grisk action. It's an important part of his character. I feel robbed of what the animated Rebels season 5 would have been." Yeah, that's a really great point. I think that an animated season 5 of Rebels would have been really cool. I'm glad with what we got in the Ahsoka show, but I agree. There's something about those animated series, because that's where we do get like the Mortis arc and the World Between Worlds and that kind of stuff, where I feel like we were able to dive in a little bit deeper on some of those ideas. So it would have been cool to see it, but I think that we could I think we're heading in the Grisk direction. In fact, Brittany, I don't know if you saw my video that I put out a few days ago, but one of my theories is that potentially in Rey's New Order of Jedi and the Daisy Ridley New Jedi Order movie, we could see something being set up now in the Mandalorian universe for her to have to fight a species or something of the nature in her movie, such as the Grisk. So there you go. Let's see. Tony says, "I would enjoy an animated Thrawn series with the Grisk action." Yeah, and I don't even, maybe it won't even be animated. Maybe I think it could be in live action. I certainly think that that's a possibility. Brittany says, "Unfortunately, I don't think we will." Is that in reference to the world between worlds and seeing Ahsoka get off the planet? Brittany. Tony says, "Yeah, agreed. I think that's what you're talking about." It's just a theory, right? So, but what do you all think? How do you think that they're going to get off Peridea? Are they going to get off Peridea? I was in a chat, and shout out to their channel. I think it's Ron and Nick are mostly involved within it. Tony, you probably like to check them out. Actually, they're a relative. I think they have like 2,000 subscribers. Star Wars Jedi podcast. I'll put it in the comments. And Tony, you're probably already familiar with them because this is Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars, went and did a podcast with them. But I was in their chat last night. They were talking about this. They think that, and someone was saying, I can't remember who, someone was saying that they thought Ahsoka and Sabine were going to get off Peridea and get off Peridea pretty quickly in Ahsoka season 2, and I just don't think so. I don't know if they're going to get off at all, and if they do, I think it's going to be towards the end. I could see how one could argue that they get off pretty quickly. I think it'd be cool, but I think that you have to be really careful, right? Because a lot of these characters we don't see in the sequel trilogy. Obviously, Ezra and Ahsoka and Sabine. Some of these characters could they're I don't know if they would live as long to see the sequels. But I mean, Luke is there. Luke is there in the sequels, and I think Luke is Luke is the same age as Ezra, I believe. So Ezra definitely could have been there. I don't think these characters are going to die. I just don't see that. But anyway, I mean, they were saying that they think that they're going to get off pretty quickly, and they think that we're in the Ahsoka season 2. We're going to jump back and forth between Ahsoka and Sabine on Peridea and Thrawn and Hera and whatever they're doing in the galaxy. I don't think so. I honestly think I don't even know if we'll see Ezra in Ahsoka season 2. I think they're if I could have it my way personally, I would like to focus on what's happening in Peridea and let the Mandalorian and Grogu and some of these other projects set up what is going on with Thrawn and Hera and the New Republic and other projects. Because to me, when Ahsoka says we're where we need to be, and Anakin as a Force ghost looks upon them almost, in agreement of this is where you need to be. I think this is where they need to be. And it's not in the sense of this is where we are right now, so this is where we need to be. Your destiny is here. This is where you're meant to be. Something is here that needs your attention. And I don't think we're going to get off Peridea very quickly. So you all let me know what you think, though. Travis here says, since Palpatine already manipulated the world between worlds and with it the natural order, I could see for balance Ahsoka needed to correct the things he manipulated. Yeah. And that's just to piggyback off what I was saying earlier, Travis. In that episode of The World Between Worlds and Rebels, when Ezra pulls Ahsoka out of that portal, you actually hear when they're talking, I think Ahsoka says we need to get out of here. You hear lightning and a thunder crack in the background, and that's when Palpatine is there. So once again, as Journeyman has rightfully pointed out, and you don't actually hear a lot of people talking about this, at least that I've found. When you hear thunder, someone's coming in. And he's manipulated it. He could still be trying to manipulate it. As I talked about in my video, because he saw this as a conduit between the living and the dead. I think he saw that as a means of being able to survive, whether it be through time travel or it just being a place in the cosmic force in general where maybe, people, souls or whatever you want to call it, are just lingering, ready to be drawn back in. So there's a lot of possibilities there. I think it is a realm that needs protected, and I think that it's Ahsoka's destiny to be its protector. Tony says, Travis, do you think the New Republic found the portal that Palpatine used to find Ezra and Ahsoka under the Jedi Temple? Now, that would be cool. I don't know if we'll get to see that, but that would be really cool. Brittany says, due to how controversial 7 through 9, the sequels were, I don't think we'll get a Rey movie. I think we are. They're on their third writer. A lot of people are saying third time's a charm for the writer. And so I think we're going to get a Rey movie, Brittany. Now, whether you're excited for it or not, that's up to you. I'm excited about it because I think that we're going to get to see an era of Star Wars, obviously, that we've never seen before, and that's exciting to me. I do think they have to do it right, though, because if they're already taking a risk, and I was talking to somebody earlier about this today, they're already taking a risk by creating the Rey movie, and so they got to get it right. They got to get it right, but I do think it's happening. Travis says, as for the staff, the common symbol is the circle. It's what's around everyone's hand in that mural. My interpretation is an endless circle of dark light and bounce. There you go. That's a good interpretation as well. But can you deny the fact that whenever that portal starts to open, Travis, the circles connect, and then you see the beams of light, and perhaps it's just symbolism like you're talking about, but perhaps it's a way of signaling something else. Now, to be clear, she actually hasn't received this staff yet, so who knows if she even will receive it. But I gotta believe that if Dave has something in his mind of what that staff meant. I don't think it was meant to just look cool. I think he's going to use it in a way that is very important to her character moving forward. So we'll see. Travis follows up to say, Rod of the Hutt coming back, his connections to the Outer Rim, as well as the discovery of the star maps and skeleton crew, I think could set up fixing Peridia. Okay, finding. Yeah, I was wondering if you meant finding instead of fixing. Finding Peridia. Yeah, absolutely. But and once again, Ezra is now back and he's been there, and so he can help them find it. I mean, he knows that the Purgle. He got there by way of the Purgle, so I think it's certainly possible that they go and find them, but it took an Eye of Sion to get there without the Purgle. So I think the question becomes: is can you take the Purgle there? But how do you get back? Because so far we haven't seen the Purgle traveling back to the new galaxy that I'm aware of. And I believe Balin tells Shin that the Purgle go there to die, I think. So I don't know. We'll just have to see. But lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff. Lots of fun things. I forgot to put the banner up here, so I'll go ahead and put the banner up. But lots of good stuff. Let's get back into some more questions. So we talked about Ahsoka and Sabine's fate. I laid out my theory. Let me know in the comments section, or if you're in the chat, let me know what you think in the chat as well. But let's go on to Balin's skull and what we think Balin is going to be up to. And we've if you've been on other streams, and Travis has actually been a part of those streams, we've been talking about Abeloth. We've been talking about the Mortis gods. I'm really excited for that stuff. I think it's a really, really fun way to bring in, a new villain that is kind of is well liked and is really cool. In the Fate of the Jedi Legends novels, the threat that Abeloth poses in those novels, I think, sets up this second season of Ahsoka really well. And my hope is that if we do get Abeloth, it's not just for one season. Let's keep it going. Let's make Abeloth the next big villain of the Star Wars universe. But that's kind of besides the point, right? So let's back up just a little bit. What do we think Balin was actually searching for? What do you think he knows what he's searching for? Does he know what is calling him? What I find really interesting, and I want to make a video about this and call it, the title is going to be Balin's Fairy Tale, right? Because he tells Shin, no, he doesn't tell Shin, he tells Morgan Elsbeth in the second episode of Ahsoka that he's heard of the path to Peridia in fairy tales that are told at the Jedi Temple. Fairy tales. And up until that point, when he is on, what's the planet? I can't think of the planet now. Whatever planet they're on, where the Purgle are, Cetos. Yeah, I think it's Cetos. Up until that point, when they're on Cetos, and Elsbeth is telling Balin that basically this is real. He doesn't believe it's real. Up until that point, his primary motivation for trying to, for helping Elsbeth is just that he's a mercenary. And this is how I take it. So if you disagree, let me know. But that's his motivation as a character, right? Is we're Dark Jedi, and they're just kind of they don't believe in the Order, but they're just mercenaries. But once he hears that Peridia, this pathway to Peridia, is a real thing, that's when something in terms of his motivations change. And that's when he starts to realize that there's a power out there that he wants to go find. Now, is something calling to him at that point? I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything is calling out to him that time, at least my memory doesn't, if serves me correctly, is nothing's calling out to him at that time. It's not really until he gets to Peridia where I think things start to call out to him. But so that is where his motivations change, and he realizes it's not a fairy tale; it's real. Um, but what is calling out to him? What do you think is calling out to him? Obviously, like we were just talking about, a lot of people are saying it's Abeloth, and I think that's certainly possible, especially with the introduction of the Mortis gods and the Mortis god statues at the end of Ahsoka season 1, that final episode. So it's quite possibly Abeloth because of the father, son, and the daughter, but it could be something else. Maybe they don't call this Abeloth, and they call it's similar, but it's just go by a different name, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know. But Balin is looking for something, and he knows that it's out there. Something might be calling him, but he also knows something clicks for him on Cetos that this is real and this is worth going to pursue. This power is worth pursuing. He tells Shin that, because Shin is talking to him and they're on the platform of that um, base where the great mothers are, Night Sisters. And Shin's talking to him like, once we found Thrawn, this is the power that you're talking about, right? Like, now we can make things right. And Balin goes, that kind of power is fleeting. And he's like, there's something out there that can help us in this cycle of good and bad, good and bad. Destroy it all, make it all new, and we can stop this endless cycle. So he knows what it is, and they just keep teasing it. Dave Filoni and the writers just keep teasing this of like, my understanding is he knows what is out there, but they're just teasing it for the audience to set something up. So that's the question: what is he trying to find? Um, and how is this going to impact Star Wars moving forward? Right? Is this setting up something that we're going to see come down the line? I mean, this is what Balin was talking about, right? Whatever power's out there, he believes will end the cycle of this good and bad. Um, you have the Republic, and then the Empire comes, and then there's the fall of the Empire. The New Republic comes, and now you have the Final Order, or the First Order, the Final Order, whatever it is. And it's this endless cycle, and he's going to end it. So are they setting something up that is going to be, used in future stories of Star Wars? That's the question. Let's see here. Let's go to the chat real quick. Travis says, wild card idea that would help tie everything up is Jod being in jail, hearing a call from Mortis from his old master who was killed. He embarks to find her, the kids following him. That's cool. That's a good idea, Travis. I like that. Maybe Jod is one of Abeloth or whatever this dark entity out there is next victim, and Jod starts hearing this call as well. Very similar character in terms of a Jedi or someone who's trained in the ways of a Jedi, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong about Jod, but I believe he was trained by a Jedi, similar to Shin and Balin, but kind of losing their way after Order 66, and while the Empire is reigning. And so Balin's being called, and that would be really cool to set something up where Jod could be getting called too. Travis goes on to say, we haven't seen what becomes of Force-sensitive prisoners in the New Republic era. Assuming Jod was arrested, him being taken under the wing of Luke and already knowing of Peridia would make sense. Yeah, that would be really cool. Do you think Jod is going to become an apprentice or under the leadership of Luke? That's really interesting. That's something worth speculating about right there. I don't know. I don't know what Jod's fate is going to be. Part of me wonders if I think Jod will get redeemed in the sense. I don't think we're going to see him go with Luke and be trained by Luke. I don't, at least at first thought, I don't see that happening. It's a good theory, though. Maybe I'll write that down and brainstorm on that one a little bit. Yeah, that could be really interesting. And while I'm thinking about it, this may be one you want to submit, Travis, but for those who are just joining and who uh, are just now listening in, we've reached 1,000 subscribers, which is awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to everyone. We're talking about Ahsoka season 2 speculation right now. If you have a theory that you want to submit for the possibility of me making a video on it, I love getting some inspiration for you all. And this is Star Wars Democracy after all, so I love to hear from you all and make it as interactive as possible. There should be a link to a Google form in the description of this video that you can fill out, submit your theory, and then if selected, I'll make a video about it, and then you can put in the form whether or not you want to shout out. I'm not going to call anybody out if you don't want to be, but I'm more than happy to give you a shout out if your theory is selected. So it's a really fun way. I think I'm going to try to make it to where you can be part of the channel, and I'm including all of those submissions and videos in a wild speculation playlist. Because I'm choosing theories that are pretty wild in terms of the speculation, and it's going into a wild speculation playlist. I'm going to try to make the playlist about 12 episodes, and then we'll wrap up season 1 of wild speculation and go on to season 2 of wild speculation. So it's a really fun way to be involved. If you have any ideas, this is kind of a pilot run for this first season. So if you have any ideas, let me know. Once again, in the Discord, you can join the Discord. There should be a link to that as well in the description of this video. Let me know what you think. We're like I said, we're just running a pilot on it, but I think it's a really fun way to make it interactive. And if you have any other ideas on how we can make the channel more interactive for people who are in live streams or just in general, let me know, because my hope for this channel is to grow, obviously, but most importantly, not grow so large that we can't have fun together and talk Star Wars together. Because I made this channel to be able to connect with other people, talk Star Wars. So that's at the heart of this. And let me know if you have any good ideas for that. Let's see. Tony says, Travis, was there any inkling of a trace of Peridia on the skeleton crew with all what we saw in that series? Travis follows up to say, Tony, with Atten and the other 9 planets being hidden and kept in the bubble of the Old Republic, along with him, the Owl, we've set up a lot more of the galaxy to be uncovered. Yeah. I mean, what's so cool about that show, I think, is the fact that the Old Republic was able to keep an entire planet a secret. And I think that is really interesting. If they were able to do that, what else were they keeping a secret? What else did they know? I think it sets up a lot of fun things. Whether it's connected to Pretty or not, I don't know. I do think, my personal opinion, those are kind of like 2 separate things, 2 separate stories. Peridia seemed to be more involved with the Jedi and the Force, because Balin specifically says that those were stories that he heard at the Jedi Temple. And so I don't know if the Old Republic or the Republic itself had a lot to do with Peridia. I think the Jedi did. And I'm not sure. Well, we know that the Jedi had connections with Atten, because I believe that's they were waiting for what was the word? The Republic. Jod calls himself to be able to get to the planet, and now I can't remember what it is. Let me know what it is in the chat. But anyway, I think the Jedi were aware of Atten. Whether or not they were aware that it was a secret and it was hidden, I don't know, but it is what it is. So let's see. Travis says, I don't think an apprentice, more so that the only way to contain a Force-sensitive prisoner is with the only Force-sensitive person in the Republic. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I was like, I don't think we're going to see Jod become an apprentice to Luke Skywalker. But you're saying that we have this guy who's a Force user. The only way we could make sure he doesn't get out of hand is by having him being watched over by another Force sensitive. But you have Ezra now too, though, so Ezra could be involved with that. I don't know. Travis says, I like the idea of every remaining Force user hearing the call to Pridia and we see a bunch of different types of people show up. That would be really cool. Ooh, that would be actually really cool. Okay, you've come up with 2 good theories now, and I can't remember the first one. I'm gonna have to go back to the chat and see. That would be a cool theory of how Ahsoka could potentially get back. What if other Jedi start to hear the call, or other Force users, like you said, and maybe that's a character that gets introduced in the second season, is this once rogue Jedi who hears the call of this dark force who we presume to be Abeloth, and this random other Force user besides Shin, besides Balin, besides Sabine and Ahsoka, just show up on the planet. What if there's somebody already there? What if somebody has already made it? All you have to do is find a space whale. There seem to be plenty of those. What if they find like a group of people who are already there, or maybe just one person who's just been hiding out? Although you would think that Ezra would know about them. I don't know. That's a really cool theory, though, Travis. Is like all of a sudden it's like Ahsoka and Sabine are just there with those snail-like creatures. I can't remember what the species is called. And then boom, a whale jumps out of hyperspace, and here comes this rogue Force user who maybe was an old Jedi, maybe just an acolyte of the Sith. I don't know. That's a really cool theory, though. I like it. I like it. Travis says, Kim has definitely heard of Peridia, and Atten was encouraged to take in stories of the Jedi, which is very different from the rest of the galaxy, so it's probably been in one of their stories. Yeah, that's true. That's true. They, is it Wim? Something. I can't remember the main kid's name who had the stories. I mean, I suppose. I don't know. I just, for some reason, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just having a hard time connecting those dots and thinking that we're going to see Peridia and Atten have some type of connection, but could be wrong. Definitely could be wrong. Travis says all the people of Peridia who arrive from different walks of life, but learn it's the difference in all of them that is important to persevere. So important to preserve. Sorry. They all go into hiding until the right time. So you're saying there's a bunch of people who are already there. That's interesting. You want to submit that theory too? You had a theory, and that's where I got on my tangent of submitting it into the intake form. You need to submit the first one, whatever it was. I'll have to go back and find it, and then submit that one. There's a link to the form in the description of this video. It's a simple Google form to fill out. Fill that form out, and then I'll have to take that one and run with it if you would allow me. Because I really like that. I really like the idea of a new Jedi just showing up. I think that's really cool. But it's kind of like the Maze Runner, like where they just bring, like they have this group of kids who are kind of one at a time introduced, and then you have the main character, I don't remember his name, show up, and then the girl gets brought in as the last one. I think that would be really cool to like introduce that, of like there's already these people on the planet. Ahsoka, Sabine get there, Shin is there as well, and then we have this person who comes out of hyperspace in a space whale, and they have to be introduced into this culture as well. Really, really cool. Really, really like that. Tony says, interesting that the Night Sisters couldn't wait to get off that planet, but Balin heard the call to go there. Yep. Yeah, and it makes you wonder if Thrawn also knows what is there. Obviously, the Night Sisters probably know there, because it's my understanding that's where they originated from. So they know what is being held there. Once again, whether it be Abeloth or whoever. But Balin wants to go there. Is he? And then I think the next question is Is he doing it on his own will, or is he being lured in sort of uncontrollably? I think that that's a question we have to answer at some point too. Travis says, Tony says, Travis needs to create his own Star Wars studios and produce some of his ideas. You really do. You really need to put some of these ideas into videos, Travis, honestly, or else I'm just going to keep stealing them. I'm just kidding. Travis says, I mean that the Force users responding to the call are important because they all have different perspectives on the Force and loyalties, which keeps the Force from becoming single faceted. Yes. So you're saying it doesn't just have to be these Jedi or, descendants of Jedi who have survived or exist after Order 66. It could be anybody who uses the Force or has a tendency to use the Force. I think that would be really cool. I think that certainly sets up some really cool stories. And once again, I think that's a really good theory of, what we could see in the second season is surely, obviously, with the Night Sisters originating there, surely Ron and Ezra were not the first ones to have figured out how to get there. Surely. It makes you wonder who has been there before and who may be there right now. Travis says, I see Luke, who's collecting Jedi artifacts, being interested in a planet of people raised on Old Republic Jedi stories, especially if the kids are representatives who go to the Republic. Sure. Yeah, that's a whole stream in itself, and we can get into that maybe next time or maybe even a little bit tonight of what's going on with the skeleton crew and what exactly is it setting up in this Mandalorian universe and stories to come. How's it tie into the sequels? We talked about it a little bit last week, but I think it'd have been really cool to see the skeleton crew. The treasure on Atten. Where does this? Not the. I keep wanting to say the final order, the first order, get their funding from? Where does Thrawn get his funding from? Well, maybe it's the Atten's treasure. Maybe would have been cool to see something like that, and they could quite frankly be setting something up that we see in a future project for something like that. Travis says, and we're totally seeing Ventress in season 2 with the Night Sisters and Ahsoka. I think that's interesting. You think we're going to see Asajj in season 2? Possibly. It's certainly possible. That would be really cool if, now that's a wild theory in of itself, probably would fit very well in the wild theory playlist, is seeing Asajj being drawn to Peridia and Asajj being that person who, like we were saying, Ahsoka's to be in her there, and boom, someone shows up and it's Asajj Ventress. Well, that's a theory in of itself. Very nicely done, Travis. Very nicely done. Let's see. Let's talk about some other things. Shin Hati's future. Shin. So Baylan leaves Shin. Do you think Shin is going to be redeemed in a sense? Do you think we're going to see Shin take on the side of Sabine and Ahsoka? A lot of people say that her appearance, from what images and visuals we have seen of Abeloth, is very similar to Abeloth. So, some people suspect maybe that the spirit of Abeloth, or whatever dark side, and we assume it's dark side, entity is being held captive there on Peridia. Maybe that it corrupts Shin, and Shin actually becomes the embodiment of whatever power is out there. Maybe Baylan and Shin come back into contact after Baylan leaves her, and Baylan sacrifices Shin. kind of like what we made like in the uh, Infinity War and Endgame. Someone has to be sacrificed to get the which stone is it? Is it the Soul Stone? Which has some similar, just it kind of echoes and kind of rhymes maybe in a little bit with what we're talking about with Abloth and things like that. Maybe Balin sacrifices Shin. That could be cool. Um, I don't know. What do you all think? Will Shin become a good person again, or will Balin sacrifice her? Will Shin find a way of leaving the planet? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Travis says the Old Republic Mint throws a huge wrench in the galactic banking system and the value of currency in general. I read that and I wasn't sure if you were being sarcastic or if that was a joke, Travis. But then I read it and I was like, I think he's actually saying like this could actually be a problem if if they actually come across this. That's funny. Uh, Follows up and says, I theorized a long time ago that the Skeleton Crew kids run into Shin and has to reluctantly help them like Nebula in the MCU. Won't happen, but it would be fun. Yeah. And now that you say that, there were long-standing rumors, kind of when I first actually started making content probably 2 years ago, that the Skeleton Crew was supposed to tie into the Ahsoka series. At the time when those reports and rumors were coming out, this was probably late 2022, very early 2023. So Ahsoka hadn't come out yet. But it makes you wonder, if those reports were true at the time and what their plan was for tying in Skeleton Crew with Ahsoka. And at the time, if our memory serves me correctly, making Star Wars and other, pretty reliable sources were saying that the the kids in Skeleton Crew were going to get lost and find themselves out in what was being rumored to be the New Beyond at the time, and the New Beyond ended up being Peridia. But the rumor was is the Skeleton Crew kids were going to be lost in the New Beyond, where Thrawn and Ezra Bridger were, and that perhaps maybe Ahsoka was going to have to help them find a way to get home. Now, obviously, we didn't get that, but maybe we get a variation of that in the second season. Maybe the kids do. Maybe that's where that comes in. And even though Dave Filoni hadn't wrote the second season at the time, I don't think, but maybe the kids do end up getting lost and find their way to Peridia. And there you go. That's how you tie in what you're saying, Travis, with Peridia and Hatton kind of coming together. They go on another treasure hunt. They stumble across this map of a lost galaxy, a rumored galaxy, and the kids end up finding their way there. That would be really cool. Once again, another good theory, another good video. Travis follows up again to say John Watts did just say that the season 2 Skeleton Crew is ready to go once if it's picked up, which lends credence to the idea that it ties into the larger story in some way. Oh yeah, I think the plan was to always have a season 2 of this. Whether or not Disney greenlights it, I don't know. I think, and I've seen other channels like, shout out to Star Wars Santa. I watch him a lot too. And I think Star Wars Santa, I won't say that he said this because I don't know for 100% certainty, but somewhere I was listening to somebody saying that the Disney Plus experiment is dead and gone and that it didn't work. And I think that Star Wars needs to return to the big screen. So even if we don't get a season 2 of Skeleton Crew, I do think that we're probably going to see, obviously, them show back up in maybe The Mandalorian and Grogu, but probably Dave Filoni's movie, if I had to guess. So, Tony says that they'll have to start Skeleton Crew soon as the kids grow up fast. That's very true, Tony. I mean, they could have filmed some scenes for The Mandalorian and Grogu. There hasn't been any rumor or speculation on anything like that yet, but they could definitely be in Ahsoka season 2, which begins filming in April, I believe. And then, if not Ahsoka season 2, Dave Filoni's movie. So, Travis says it'd be an interesting flip to have Jod be the one who's embarking on the journey to find his master, the kids following. Then they end up on Peridia. There you go. Once again, now you have 3 theories that you need to submit. So make sure you go submit those darn theories because I'm going to forget them and I'm about to go watch this video to figure out this live stream to go figure out what you actually said and then take your theories. But if you just submit them on the forum, then I won't have to do that. So go submit that one on the forum. Now you have 3. Tony says, Travis, and throwing such a large amount of credits must have some implied implications to the ongoing story. Otherwise, it didn't need to be that huge of a mint. Yes, I think it sets up something, certainly, Tony. And, with you being in Mike's live streams, I think he's long speculated, similar to what I think, is that they're setting up something with the First Order or Thrawn taking those funds and using them to fund their um, new empire. So there you go. All right. Well, what else do we have here? We could talk about Ezra. We could talk about his role in the galaxy. Now that he's back, kind of talked a little bit about this last week, but could we see him and Luke have a conversation? Ezra knows Hera, who knows Leia, who obviously knows Luke. Ezra also knows Leia because of whatever scene they were in Star Wars Rebels, whatever episode, not scene. I believe Ezra and Leia have come into contact before. So that's how we could get a connection with Luke there. Ezra and Luke, that is. What is Ezra's role, though, we think, in this galaxy? Now that he's back, is he going to... Obviously, he's probably going to work for the New Republic. But I don't know how he fits into this picture. We kind of already talked about it, but he could have a role with Jod as well and have a role in that story in some way, being a Force user himself. Sounds like they would have some shared history. Jod could potentially connect to Ezra in that way because Ezra was chained by a Order 66 survivor. I don't remember. I want to say that Jod was as well. I think his master was an Order 66 survivor. So they have some shared history there, which could be cool. Travis says, also with Jod in custody, we're going to see a lot of people who are after him coming out of the weeds to get him back, which could put the New Republic in a bad spot. Yes, certainly. And they're not very good at keeping prisoners because Morgan Elsbeth, right? We know that she pretty easily got broken out. I mean, obviously, we're dealing with 2 dark side Force users, as it would seem, which is certainly a formidable opponent for the New Republic to deal with. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly a precedent of them not being able to hold prisoners very well. I mean, who am I kidding? Even so, Balin and Shin, but also is it the Mandalorian season 1, episode 6? That's all about a prison break off of a New Republic ship where we see Matt Lantern and I think he dies, if I remember correctly. They're not very good at keeping prisoners, is my point. So, certainly not good at that. Tony says that large amount of funds will dilute the value of all credits, making for a turmoil in the galaxy. Interesting. You guys are really staking your claim into this large scale theory about how Atten is going to derail the New Republic economy. That's funny. Tony says the New Republic will need to keep Atten under wraps for many reasons. Okay, there you go. Once again, doubling down. Yeah, I mean, you're obviously not going to want this secret to get out, which makes a lot of sense. and certainly secrets are hard to keep, and it makes you wonder that, if this couldn't be, you know, in thinking about this, politically speaking, money corrupts as well. And so it makes you wonder if this is actually not going to be a good thing for the New Republic. As you guys are saying in the chat, and perhaps this leads to some form of corruption that erodes the guardrails of the democracy they're trying to create, and potentially paves way for the First Order to rise. One of the reasons for the First Order to rise. And then in that sense, the First Order doesn't even need to stumble upon this treasure, even though they might, but rather they actually benefit, uh, sort of in an unintended way, by it actually corrupting the New Republic to the extent that the First Order is allowed to emerge. So there's a theory right there. Travis says both Asajj and Kanan resorted to smuggling of sorts, so I could see Jod encountering one of them at some point. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of shared history there. Not between the characters, or maybe between the characters. We don't actually know. But they have a lot of shared experiences, I guess I should say. Tony says one group, especially the old Empire remnant out in the Outer Rim, could use the funds to purchase more ships. Yep, certainly. And yeah, like I said, maybe it's not so much going to help the First Order in terms of having the funds flow in for their cause, but maybe it actually is the beginning of corruption for the New Republic, in some way, shape, or form. Follows up by saying, like, where did Palpatine get the funds to build his new fleet at Exegol? Yeah, that's that's a theory many have had, is that this is where once again, the First Order and Palpatine get their money to build their fleet. And while I could certainly see that happening, I gotta believe that Palpatine had a contingency much earlier on to have these ships built in some capacity before he actually died in Return of the Jedi. So I could go either way, I suppose. There you go. I didn't even see your message, but I agree with you. But he was already building that fleet while Vader was alive. Yeah. Yeah, and that, like, I think you're saying that, like, yeah, that's literally confirmed fact. Like, he was already building it. So yeah, I mean, like I've been saying, maybe they don't actually use those funds to build uh the First Order. Maybe that's, that it actually corrupts the New Republic and gives rise to the First Order in that way. So cool. Well, we have covered quite a bit in 1 hour for Ahsoka Season 2 speculation. We could get into things like, what does it mean for Thrawn now that he's back in the galaxy? Anakin's Force Ghost. We haven't even talked about Anakin all that much. The rumors that Ewan McGregor is supposed to be returning to Ahsoka for Season 2. For what we assume are probably going to be Clone Wars flashbacks. I'm of the idea, and I tend to agree with those who think that it's going to be the Mortis arc. So there's that. The Mortis gods. We've already kind of talked about the Mortis gods, and then connections to other projects, but I think we have plenty of time to speculate on Ahsoka Season 2. This isn't going to be the only stream where we're speculating Ahsoka Season 2. So I think we'll have to hold off on that and get to that another time, perhaps when Journeyman is back and we can bounce ideas. Tony says it's time for a giveaway. Oh, we were chatting to the Discord. Once again, if you're watching this on the replay, or you're just stopping by, there's a link to the Discord in the description of this live stream if you want to go. But we were talking about maybe we can, as senators of the channel, for memberships and things like that, we can do a giveaway, a Starbucks gift card for some coffee. Tony said some coffee would be nice. But yeah, make sure you stop by in the Discord if you get the chance to do that. Tony says everyone hit that like button, of course. And then what will Ryan do to top Mike when he hits 100K? What did he do, Tony? I don't know if I was there when he hit 100K, or I didn't watch that live stream. I don't know if he must have done something fun, but either way, I appreciate it. Next milestone is going to be to get to the 3,000 hours of watch time. We were there, and then on my nice hiatus break, whatever you want to call it, we dropped below the 3,000 hours of watch time threshold. So now we're making up for lost time. So, oh, he poured blue milk over himself. That's too good. Well, we have a lot of time, I assume. I don't plan on getting to 100,000 subscribers anytime soon. So we have some time to think about what we want to do for that. And hopefully we have a lot better technology here. I don't know. I don't even know if you'd be able to see me pour blue milk on my head, if that would even work on the camera and all the technology we have here. So we'll have to certainly think about what we could do. And like I said, hopefully have some better tech at that time. But yeah, we're making up for lost time, trying to get to 3,000 hours of watch time. So would appreciate it if you hit a like on this video, share it with a friend, share the channel. We're at 1,000. Thank you, Travis, for the congrats. I really appreciate it. Like I said, couldn't even honestly been making content for about 2 years at this point, and if it weren't for the amount of breaks that I take, his life just gets busy. And at the very least, I hope we can do one stream, one video, something like that for the foreseeable future. But if it weren't for all the breaks that I took, I feel like we would have got there a lot sooner potentially. But nonetheless, we're there now. Couldn't be more happy. And it seems like really cool now that when you look at your YouTube channel to see that it says 1 and then a K, it's like, wow, we're big time now. So really appreciate it. Hit a like, smash the like button, share, join the Discord if you haven't, drop a comment, do all the things. I would really appreciate it. And I think we're going to call it there, guys. We've been going for about an hour, but if you want to keep the conversation going, like I said, hop on in the Discord and we can keep it up. But until next week, next Thursday, around 7:38 is when we'll try to hop back on. I'm sure there'll be a lot more Star Wars news to cover between now and next week. So looking forward to chatting with you all then. Of course, I appreciate all of you. May the Force be with you always.